All right. Well, hello everyone from wherever you're joining us. My name is Jason Walls from CloudShark, and we're going to go through pretty detailed of all of the basics of CloudShark. A lot of you might have started accounts recently, or you might have a copy of CloudShark Enterprise, and we try to make as much stuff as intuitive as possible, but sometimes there's some basics that might get missed. So we're going to cover it from start to finish, all the things that you can do with packet captures in CloudShark. We're going to cover the repository. There's basically three main pieces of CloudShark. There's the capture repository. There's the packet analysis view, which you're probably very familiar with if you use Wireshark all the time. And then there's our web-based analysis tools and graphs. And so I'll go through and cover each of those in detail. There's not much in the way of slides, so I'll just jump right into it. So if you've logged into CloudShark, this is the capture repository. And from here, you can easily upload capture files by dragging and dropping them into the upload section. There's many different ways to get captures into CloudShark, especially if you're using the API, but the drag and drop is the most direct way of doing it. And once your capture is done uploading, you can click on it here to take you immediately to the capture view. But as you can also see, it's showed up in your list right here. The other way that you can get captures into CloudShark using the web interface, here I am on packetlife.net, and they actually conveniently have a CloudShark option on all of their captures. But if you have a link to a capture that is on the web, you can copy that and paste it right into import from URL, and that will upload from there. The other thing on the side here is the ability to search through your entire capture repository. So part of the power of CloudShark is getting as many captures in here as possible and sorting them and tagging them so that you can get to what you need and have a record of everything. So if you come over here, you can see that you can add a search filter. There's a lot of different options. We pulled these from the metadata of the packet captures. The most common one is tagged with, and if you do this, you'll see the tags that we've already generated. So if I wanted to see just the ones with the Meraki tag, I would hit here, and you would see that these came from Meraki Access Point 5, or whatever tag I decided to put on them. So I'll clear that. Okay, so let's go up to the top bar here. I'm going to skip merge for now because that has to do with the ability in CloudShark to split and merge captures, which I'll show you later. But the very first thing that you want to see are the sharing settings. So if you click on any one of these, so most of the things in this top bar will be actions upon captures that you've selected. And just a couple things about the captures here, you'll see these little icons. This means that it has annotations, this means that it's writable, and this means that it is currently a public. This little back and forth arrow here means that it's a public capture, meaning that guests could look at it if they have the URL. And then this little icon means that there's graphs associated with it. So let me select one of these, and I'll go up to sharing. So if you are using CloudShark Enterprise, then you can share with an entire group. But on CloudShark Online, there aren't any groups. So what you want to be able to do from CloudShark Online is you can set it to not shared or to public here. If you have upgraded your account and are actually using CloudShark Online with a subscription, they will default to not public, but for the duration of the trial, they default to public. So you can set the permissions here. Like I said, adding tags is really easy. You can select a bunch of these, and you can add any tag here, and they will be applied across the board. And they'll show up over here, and then you can use that to sort. Delete is probably fairly obvious. If you do remove capture from your system, there is not a way to get them back, so use that with caution. And then the other thing you can do from here is actually change some of the table options. That includes changing the column headers. So if there's some other metadata that you want to look at in the capture repository view, you can do that. So if I'd say when I started it, put that in here. These are all in GMT. So now you can see that column's there. So you can customize this to the way that you want it to look. Then also we have this bandwidth sort of sparkline graph in here so that you get kind of a rough idea of what the capture looks like. So if there was something you expected, you can see it in there. The other thing that you can change in the table options is the results per page. So you can show up to 90 per page, which I'll do because I actually have a lot. So beyond 90, you'll get a little option to go to the next page up over here that you probably saw before. And like I said, I'll get to merging in a minute. But let's go to the preferences dropdown. Here you can manage your account and change, not manage your account, but change your password. A lot of people do ask us how they manage their subscription. And if you're a CloudShark Online user, you will have gotten a separate email from a service called Recurly. And Recurly will kind of give you a separate login to manage your account. But if you want to change your password, you can do it here in the preferences window. I have one question from somebody about increasing the size. I can zoom in here, but it might make some of the CloudShark stuff look weird. If you can't see well, the GoToWebinar window that you're viewing the webinar in has a zoom option. So if you click on there, you can zoom in a little bit and see it better. If you go to the uploads in your preferences, this has most functionality for CloudShark Enterprise users, so this adds some sort of default behavior for uploading files. So for groups, that will only matter if you're using CloudShark Enterprise, but if you want to make it so that every capture you upload is defaults to public, you could click off guest access here. So this decode window option does have to do with the capture view, but it's something that applies to everything, which is why we put it in here. And that's whether or not you want to show the annotations by default, and also if you want the packets to be colorized. Most people do like that, so we did default it to be on, but some people want to turn it off. This is where you get your API token. So your API token is used in any tool that you are going to use to upload files to CloudShark, or if you're doing some of the more advanced things where there are API like searching or downloading, etc. This is where you would generate an API token. Everyone who has a CloudShark Online account has a default API token for uploads right here. And then if you want to make more, you can make new API tokens and give them different permissions. So if you want to say have some default tags, you can add some default tags. So let's say you have multiple sources, and you want to make sure that the source is always tagged with some descriptor. You could create an API key specifically for that capture source, and then add a tag to the API key, and then it will always show up in there. And then lastly is your usage quota. So if you're using CloudShark Online, this will show you how much disk space you have left and how many more uploads of your monthly upload limit you have. All right. Well, that's pretty much everything about the capture repository view. So let's jump right in. And I'll use this example here. Okay, so here is the familiar packet view. And if you use Wireshark before, it probably looks pretty familiar. The very first thing you want to know about this interface is the profile. And here, similarly, you can add and remove columns. But you can actually make custom columns based on filters. So if there's some specific thing you want to look at, so if I did, let's see. Well, we already have length in there. I don't think I have port up there, so let's do TCP. Now you can see that field in here. And that field actually has both the source and destination, so you can see them all at once. The other things you can do is change the time format, whether you want it to be in seconds or the exact time or the date and time. And then if you're using, if you're sharing them with others and you want the options the table options that you've set to apply to everyone who's looking at it, you can click on this, and then anyone who looks at the capture will see the same capture view that you're using. All right, so also in the packet window here, obviously you can see that the colorizations are on, but also you see this very small blue dot here. This is where you would add annotations, and the annotations actually work with the PCAPNG format. So if you later download this in PCAPNG, these annotations will be preserved, or if you happen to upload a PCAPNG capture that has annotations in it, they will show up over here. And the annotations are in Markdown. So if you're used to Reddit, for example, that uses Markdown, you could say, you could make a link in here. And then when you click out of there, you'll actually see this. So a couple of things that this allows you to do. So if you wanted to link to another capture, you can put that link in here and then kind of create your workflow around a conversation about a problem that might involve multiple captures. And as you'll see when I get to the URLs, you can build filters into those URLs and point to exactly what you're doing, and then put those things in the annotations. You can turn all the annotations on and off by clicking on that column. And down in the decode window, which you're probably very used to, if you hover over anything, it will actually show you what the particular frame item is. So if you wanted to build a filter around that, you can do that. Each field. So when we're getting down to filtering through captures, we use the display filter thing. I just wanted to show you this right here. This is an easy way to kind of scroll through the capture as it lists the entire thing, and you'll see that same little bandwidth spark line graph, and you can go zoom in on a different location, and it will just give you the captures within that time range. But the other more powerful way to filter down is obviously through the display filter. Now these will autocomplete, which is nice. So if I just want to see the TCP things, you can see that there. And most importantly, this is now part of the URL. So every single thing in CloudShark can be shared through the URL. And you can use that, like I said, in annotations to link to other things. You can use it in a trouble ticket system. You can use it in an email. And it makes it so that not only do you not have to pass captures around, but when you end up sharing your view with someone, they will be looking at exactly what you looked at. So if I click on the More Info button right here, you'll see all of the metadata about the capture. You can download it, but I'll show you that in a minute. You can see the tags that are currently applied. There aren't any here. But if you wanted to apply tags to just this capture, you can do so here, and this is the same functionality as it is in the capture repository view. If you go to comments and annotations, so this shows the existing annotations and which packet they're on. If you click at on these, it'll take you there. It'll actually build, you can see down, I can't point for you, but you can see down in the, where it's displaying what the link is, this is actually going to create a display filter that is only going to show this packet. So if you click on that, it'll take you directly to it. And then user comments are capture level comments. So if you have an overall thing that you want to say about the capture as a whole, you can put it in here and people will see it. And then the sharing options here are the same as they are in the capture repository view. You can change it from not shared to public and vice versa. So I did mention download, but I want to show you export first. So you can download the file, and you can either export it as a PCAP-NG, which will preserve the comments and the annotations, or if it is some other file format that Wireshark supports and you want to make sure that it stays in that file format, you can download the original file and it will stay that way. The other cool thing that you can do with export, though, is actually create a new session, which we call splitting a capture. So if you've applied a filter, you want to apply the current display filter, or you could limit to a particular time range if you'd done that with the sparkline graph. But if I do this, it's actually going to create a new capture session that only has the data that was applied in the filter. So this is how you can kind of drill down if you have a very large capture and you want to break it up into pieces that are a little bit more manageable, you can do it that way. Or if you have, if you're investigating a problem and you really don't care about the rest of the data except the stuff that you've filtered out, you can make it into a new capture. And you can see this is a new unique capture URL. So the opposite of that, which I said I would get to, is merge. So you can actually merge two captures together. And if you click on merge, you'll see a graph of the packets and how they relate in terms of timestamps, which sometimes gets a little complicated if you're merging two captures that happened at the same time in different places or are vastly separated. You know, it won't make much sense. But one of the things that we use to fix that is this remove duplicate packets. So I'm going to leave that active right now and hit merge. And now this is one complete capture that contains all of the packets from both captures. All right, so that's the basics of using the capture viewer and manipulating all the files. So let's jump right into the analysis tools. Okay, so if you're used to looking at packet captures, the most common thing you probably use is something like follow stream. And now you can see the HTTP conversations that are going on here. If you've looked at follow stream before, it's probably pretty familiar to you. The other thing that you can do here, if you want to see it raw, you can make it so that the wrapping doesn't happen. But if you open this in a new window, as you can see here, as with all of our tools, this is now just a URL. So if you want to link directly to the follow stream view, you can do that here. One of the things that we've added that is unique to CloudShark is called ladder diagrams. And if I go into protocols here, and I want to see the HTTP conversations, you can see there's a whole bunch here. But this actually gives you a ladder diagram view, very similar to a SIP call flow, which we actually use this tool to do our SIP call flow. And you can remove things here by just dragging them off, things that you don't want to see. And you could also apply display filters to this view. So I'm already looking only at HTTP stuff. So let's see where there's some other traffic here. Yeah, as you can see, when the website told them to go and get pages from other places, you can see that start to happen down here. But if I wanted to just say, frame contains nasa.gov, you'll see that this, I guess I have to be more specific than that. But if you were to use another filter here, it'll apply to just the ladder view. And you can base your ladder view based on conversations based on specific protocols or between two particular endpoints. And as you saw, I was hitting the back button there. Every single thing that I did was becoming part of the URL. So after I've removed some of these things, if you were to share this, you will get the person who's looking at it will see the same thing that you're looking at. So yeah, the basics that you're probably used to if you're beginning your analysis are protocol conversations, which will show you all the talkers. All of these can be opened in a new window and linked to. Protocol hierarchy, which you just saw when I was using the ladder diagram tool. The other thing I do want to touch upon is the decode protocol as. So sometimes you might have some RTP streams that you don't know, or you might have something that you don't know is supposed to be of a particular protocol. This happens with RTP a lot. So if there's something that is a non-default port that you want to assign what protocol it is, you can add decode as rules here. So you would just say, the TCP port is equal to this, and it's this protocol. And then when you add that, it'll apply to the capture. All right. Let's go back to our list. And I'm going to show you the VoIP call tool. So you can see that there were two calls in this capture. This is a SIP capture. There's a bunch of comments here. We use this example all the time. If you want to view, you can view some of the stats specific to SIP, which is the different signaling packets that have occurred. If I go to VoIP calls and view entire call flow, you're going to see that ladder diagram again, but the VoIP analysis tool also can also play back the call while you're in it. So this will show you the SIP flow and also the calls involved. We've added G722 decode, and I'm going to use this to show you our RTP tool. So even if it's not specifically a call, the RTP streams can be analyzed here, and they give you a bunch of different statistics, including jitter and loss. You can immediately make a bandwidth graph out of these things. But if I click on this, I can actually play the RTP stream here. The other tool I want to show you is our wireless tool. So I'm going to go to a capture that has a whole bunch of different wireless networks, and we have this right here so that you can immediately see all of the wireless networks if you've done a wireless capture. This works really well with one of our integrators called AirTool, which is a Mac OS based capture tool that you can use for wireless analysis. If you click on any of these, it's going to build you a filter that has only that BSS ID in it and show you just those things. And then the other thing you can do is, if you hopefully have an encrypted wireless capture, because most people should be doing that in this day and age, if you want to actually view the decoded packets and you happen to have the key, you can add a decryption rule. So I happen to know that the SSID is CloudShark, and I know which type it is. You can select key or password, and the password is also CloudShark. So once I apply that, now you can see the entire decoded capture. And then last but not least, from the analysis tools perspective, I'm going to go back to our nasa.gov capture. We have our HTTP analysis tools, including the ability to view all the average response codes. If there was a lot more interesting stuff going on here, you'd see more of that. Or if people were doing other methods like post, you'd see that here. You can see the summary of the hosts that were contacted. But the most powerful thing here is our object viewer. And this shows you every single object that was downloaded in the capture. So if I go to one of these images here, you can actually view it. And there's the NASA logo right there. And you can actually directly download that object too, if you saw that there. And downloads it right there. All right, so the one other thing I want to show you today are the graphs. So I'm going to go to this capture that we did with speedtest.net. And the interesting thing about the speedtest.net captures is that there's a very clear line of demarcation between when the download stops and the upload begins. And you can see that nicely in a graph. So you can see that I've already created and saved one that I'm going to show you. We're going to go to the all traffic graph first. And so here's a really, really quick summary. You can zoom in here, but the most powerful thing about the graphs is when you go to edit, you can apply different filters that will apply a different graph color and basically make a new item in the graph. You can give it a title and save it. Changing the time interval basically gives you a much wider view of what's going on, as you can see. And you can change the units, which I'll show why that matters in a second. So let's go to that graph that I've made. So you can see here that I've added two filters. One is with the host PC as the source, and the other is with when the speedtest.net server is the IP source. And you can see the very clear line of when it switches from a download to an upload. And I do want to show you the difference between the bytes and packets. So this is showing you the total number of bytes sent at each time interval. And you can see some very low-level stuff in the background going in the other direction down there. But if I go to packets, you can see that changes because there is some other stuff going on while the download test is happening. And then the other thing that I've clicked on here is include packet annotations. So in the graph, you'll actually see these little A, B's, and C's. Each one of those is an annotation that exists. It says what frame it's on, and it will actually show you the annotation. And you can create a printable view for these, or you can export them as a PDF or an image if you want. All right. Well, that is the basics of CloudShark. We'd like to go into a little bit more detail than maybe we have in the past. That's pretty much the high-level overview of everything that CloudShark can do, barring going into detail about the API, which we do have a lot of resources about the API on our site and on our YouTube page. I think our last webinar was on that. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and type them into the question box in the lower hand corner of your GoToWebinar control panel, and I will see if I can answer them. Okay, so there is one question about how to start a capture. So CloudShark doesn't run captures. It is meant as a repository and analysis tool for captures, but there are a great number of tools that you can use to start remote captures to get them into CloudShark. And if you're looking for remote things specifically, one of the things you can do is use our Wireshark plugin, because the Wireshark plugin works with T-Shark as well. So if you have a remote system that you want to run a capture on, you can load T-Shark on it. And we've actually done this even with the Raspberry Pi. It makes kind of a neat remote capture probe. And T-Shark with our plugin installed will automatically upload to CloudShark once you input your API key and some other things. We have other webinars that we've done on that, and we have some videos on our YouTube page that explain how to do that. The other thing you can do is, like I said, use any of our other integration tools. You could build your own scripts just using something like TCP dump and curl to upload. But for more information on that, you want to look at our API. If you have a Meraki device, you can do a remote capture on a Meraki device and have it automatically upload to CloudShark. Or if you have a router that has OpenWRT on it, there's CloudShark support there for remote capture. There's a lot of different ways to do that. So there's a question about decrypting SSL. You can do that if you have your own CloudShark Enterprise license. You can't do that on CloudShark Online, but in CloudShark Enterprise, we actually provide an actual system that stores RSA keys for you in one place. They can't ever be read or downloaded again, but they can be used to apply them to captures. I don't have an example of it here, but for an example, that tool is located here. So if you have some RSA keys that have been uploaded to the system, you can apply them to the capture here. Any other questions? So yes, there was one question. So once if you do upgrade your account to CloudShark subscription, that all your captures will be default private. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to go through and switch them all to private. Once your trial has been upgraded, then all of your captures will be uploaded as private. But you can switch them to guest mode which will allow you to share them and share the analysis tools and all that.